Do you ever look at your garden and think, oh my God, how do I make this look better? You're not alone. The truth is, a pretty garden is not just about expensive plants or endless maintenance. If you follow these landscaping principles, I guarantee you'll have a garden that's beautiful, low maintenance, and an actual joy to spend time in. What if your version of pretty looks totally different than everyone else's? That's not just okay, it's kind of the whole point. Probably the most famous home garden designer is Thomas Church. He wrote a fantastic book called Gardens Are for People. That saying, gardens are for people, infers that gardens are to meet your needs, to make your life better. And so if we focus on that, making your life better in your own garden, then you're going to have a landscape that is pretty to you and that is functional for you and that meets your everyday needs and improves your life on an everyday basis. So Thomas Church's points are to create spaces that you can conduct everyday activities in and to do important things like shade your house and grow food. So in our work, we come up with front courtyards all the time that people can use beyond what they ever anticipated. So they can wait for a ride or talk to their neighbors, get some use out of a front courtyard rather than having broad expanse of lawn that you never use, you only look at and walk through to get to the front door. Do you think your garden is too small or too awkward to plan properly? Let me show you why planning might be the most powerful tool you have. It's a mistake to just willy-nilly go into your landscape and start making changes. You'll regret some of the changes you made a year ago. This process of thorough planning, analyzing your site and your house and your needs and everything about what would be pretty to you is important, and then to record it some way. You can either, if you don't feel like drawing a plan to scale, you can do it in writing, almost like diary form. But you can be very precise about the things you want to emphasize and what your goals are and how you think you can achieve those goals. Or you can hire somebody to do a to-scale drawing. But you need to somehow have a plan. What I have found in the process of trying to do designs is the more time and work I put into analyzing the site and describing what the opportunities and constraints are of the site, the easier it is to end up with something that addresses my needs. And in addressing my needs, it's pretty. Next up is something a lot of people tend to overlook when they design their garden. And if you really want that wow effect, this will help a lot. Many are tempted to use all the strengths of their garden all in one view, where you walk out your back door and you look at your yard and you see everything at once. And I submit to you that that's a mistake. We'd like to incorporate a little mystery into our gardens, where you look at a certain vantage point and you can't see everything. Even if you've got a great view, we don't have nothing in front of the view. We have a garden that encourages you to walk through it and be surprised by special spaces and special views of special features. What we're trying to do is incorporate mystery into the garden design. As you think about that creatively, think about how you can design something where you don't see everything at once. You can use plant material or sheer type fencing or trellises. You need to incorporate a little bit of skill to create this mystery in a way that's pleasing and not like you're building stockades in the middle of your yard in order to have mystery. Even in this very small garden that we did with Japanese maples, it's very skillfully designed in a way where the clients walk out their back door and see kind of an informal hedge and a walkway. And once you get on that walkway, you turn the corner and there's more plantings and there's a bench. And even though it's very tiny, you cannot see the whole garden by just looking at the back door. And it's very intriguing and it gives mystery to the yard. If you've ever felt lost trying to figure out your garden, hit subscribe. Chip, my perennial vice president, and I have all the information you'll need to help your garden flourish. The way you move through your garden matters more than you think when it comes to making it not only pretty, but functional also. Let's try to make sure that every step feels intentional. So we like to make the circulation what we call interactive, where it takes you through the garden, but not in a way that isn't practical and doesn't deliver you where you want to be and doesn't encourage you to take shortcuts. So it needs to be functional and somewhat direct, but still, I like the term an interactive garden, where we're trying to get you to walk through the garden to your destination, and wide enough for the number of people you think will be using it. So if it's a main circulation, you're going to consider either 4 or 5 foot walks. And if it's something more intimate, going to a private space, then you're probably going to narrow those down to 3 feet. And if it's really an intimate part that you would only go to occasionally, maybe you just have flagstone pavers, taking you back to that spot. The size and the type of paving is a reflection of the amount of use. Shapes that you use are pretty much subject to what kind of garden you're designing. In a natural garden, they're going to be more free-form, curvilinear shapes, and they're going to go by maybe groupings of rocks. And in a more formal or structured garden, you will have more straight lines. Just like when you pick plants, you have a feeling in mind, the same applies to circulation. The material and the shape of it evokes certain feelings. Concrete or brick, rock, flagstone paving, all of those are different feelings, and we consider all of those as we consider our own architecture and our own style of garden. No amount of garden gnomes or fairy lights can save sickly plants. So how do you easily get that lush garden look? The key to healthy, lush-looking plants that thrive and bloom is healthy soil. What determines healthy soil is lively soil with all kinds of beneficial microbiology. We're going to engage the soil food web, and getting that soil food web to work for us is the way to have a healthy landscape. The easiest way to make your soil healthy, full of life, is either with our products or compost tea, things like earthworm castings. They all feed the soil. We believe in soil-based gardening, so when you have healthy soil, it will naturally feed your plants, even produce its own nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and all the micronutrients and minerals. It's amazing what the power of soil is, and I think underappreciated. One of the things we'd like you to avoid, because we get a lot of questions about it, we want to address, plants will do much better without landscape fabric. The process of feeding soil is much easier to accomplish without landscape fabric, because usually our products and most products get to go into the soil profile from the top. That's difficult to do if you have landscape fabric that tends to get clogged with roots or sediment, and that is frequently what happens to landscape fabrics. Now, what if I told you your garden and landscape could look even better if you stopped trying to over-control it? Let me explain. How about if we get away from clubbing our plants into submission? When we club our plants into submission, there's nothing special about them. They just look like cubes and circles and rectangles. Maybe you should be thinking about what plants you can use that we can allow to attain their natural form. And natural forms in plants and trees are way more attractive than plants and trees that have been hacked at and brutalized. And there are appropriate things to clip, but we don't want every plant in the garden to be a shape and look nothing like what the plant grows into. So that takes a little research and special selection of plants that don't get too big for their spot and aren't destructive, and that's what I would advocate for when you select your plants. So this harkens back to our former point that planning or a plan is so important, because then we can be thinking in advance about the plants that we're going to use and not just being moved by an impulse when we go to the nursery and then find out that what we picked is too big for the spot just because it was pretty on that day. We want pretty for 20 years, not pretty for a day. Sometimes all it takes is one small thing to pull everything together, and most people overlook it. So we're talking about focal points, 1 or 2 or 3 well-placed showstoppers of some type. Fountain or sculpture or a bird bath, special colored pots, a spectacular multi-trunk tree or something that blooms beautifully. There's lots of ways to create focal points. The whole garden design needs to be set up so that these focal points are an important part of the design. Color can make or break a garden. Get it right, and your yard turns into a showstopper. Get it completely wrong and you'll give everyone a headache, maybe. So this can be a sensitive area because I don't like to infer that there's only one or two ways to use color. It's very personal. One idea is to try to figure out ways of having color throughout the year. Or maybe some people want it to be smashing in the spring. Usually it's hard to do both. You need to determine about when you want your color, and then you come up with a color theme. One thing we like to use when we use lantana is to use white and purple trailing lantana together. It's compelling, it's beautiful, it lasts almost all summer. There's some easy things to do that make the use of color very impactful, and those are to mask the color and to pick, 1, 2, or 3 colors. But I don't want to infer that that's the only way to design landscapes effectively. When I run across really talented artistic people, they're able to kind of violate every general rule of designing with color and still have things look fantastic. So you can be creative. Pretty doesn't have to mean perfect. When you design with intention and a little or a lot of imagination, your garden can become something that's uniquely you. If you are ready to go deeper into planning your own personal oasis, check out this video here.